So let's talk about the Canon 28-135mm EF mount lens. It's a 3.5 to 5.6 zoom lens, and I want to talk about it for video. Now, this is a lens that I actually ended up enjoying way more than I thought. Initially, when I got this lens, it was about, I don't know, probably over 10 years ago. And I mainly got it for photography because at that time, I wasn't really shooting video on DSLRs or even cinema line cameras. But recently I just got a Canon C100, and so if you used that camera before, you know that the autofocus is basically trash, and it's actually been a little bit of a blessing because I mainly use manual focus now. And as a result of using manual focus, it kind of opened up this world of a bunch of lenses that I had sitting around that I would use mainly for photography, but not for video. But using manual focus with these lenses has now opened up a door of new opportunities to test out lenses that normally I wouldn't use before, and this is exactly one of those lenses. So when it comes to this lens, it's not anything super impressive. It's a zoom lens, right? And the nice thing about zoom lenses is that they provide flexibility. So I had an event that I was shooting the other night, and I really didn't know what I was walking into. So when I don't know what I'm walking into, I like to have a zoom lens at least with me. Now, I primarily prefer to shoot on prime lenses, but when you don't know what you're getting into and you need that flexibility, a zoom lens is the perfect option. So the nice thing about this lens is that I can go super wide at 28mm, or I can zoom in at 135. So that's a nice range. That's a nice option. So if I'm in a tight space, I'll have enough of a wide angle view to get the shot. And then also if I want to zoom in and maybe get some more intimate shots without being super intrusive, I have the ability to do that. So how is this lens for video? So like I said, the first reason that I picked this lens is because I needed to have flexibility. I didn't know what I was walking into. Now, the one downside about this lens, right, is that it's only 3.5, so it's not super fast. So you're not going to get the best performance out of it in low light situations. Now, being that I'm using the Canon C100, it's a bit of a heavier camera, especially when you have it all rigged out, and putting it on a gimbal isn't really going to work. So a lot of the work that I've been shooting lately has been handheld, right? And the nice thing about this lens is that it has image stabilization. So when you get in those handheld shots, you know, it can help with controlling some of those micro jitters. And in my opinion, the image stabilization works really well with this camera. So as you can see from some of these images here, this lens actually isn't that bad. Now, it's nothing fancy, it's nothing impressive, right? The colors are pretty neutral. It doesn't have a stylized look. It kind of has a look or feel of a zoom lens. It's, you know, not overly impressive, it's not terrible, but it works, it gets the job done. Now, one of the things I was really impressed about with this lens is that it gave off a nice bouquet. You were able to accomplish a nice shallow depth of field. Even when you were shooting at f-stops like 5.6, you could still get a nice shallow depth of field because you were zoomed all the way in. So you had nice compression that gave you that shallow depth of field. And that's what I was actually pretty impressed about with this lens, that I was able to achieve that look. I was able to get some nice bouquet, right? I wasn't expecting that. I wasn't looking for it. It's something that I do like to have when I'm shooting with other prime lenses, but I was surprised that I actually was able to accomplish that using this lens. So if you're someone who's looking into possibly purchasing and using this lens, this would be my suggestion. I think that if you get it at a good price, it's worth picking up. I've seen it for as low as like $130 used on some sites. And at that price point, I would think that it would be a pretty good buy because it gives you so much flexibility. Like I said, it's not going to be a super cool lens. It's not going to give you some super cool and stylish look, but it will get the job done. So if you can find it at a good deal, I would definitely pick it up. It's not a lens that I would go out of my way to find. I think that if you come across it and you see that it's at a good deal and you have it in your budget, go ahead, pull the trigger and get it because it's a nice tool to have in a toolbox. With all that being said, I was actually very surprised on how well it performed with the video that I shot with it. So hopefully that was helpful. I will leave some links down in the description below where you can go and find this lens. Maybe you can pick it up on eBay for the cheap. Maybe you could pick this lens up with a camera body. That's how I ended up getting the lens. It wasn't one that I actually went out and bought. I bought the lens, or I bought a camera and it came, you know, with the body. So, you know, that's how it goes. But if you can find it at a good price, hey, why not? So until the next time, keep on shooting and doing what you're doing. Peace.